Hey guys, I got bored. You know what that means. New Cloud9 video. All the other YouTube musicians have been making videos about reacting to their old beats and stuff, old music files, and I figured I would give that a go. Could be interesting. Even though I know how a few of these go, it's been like a good while since I've looked at them, or like actually listened to them. A couple people in the past have told me that I was just born with musical talent, and I think this will serve as a good testament against that, probably. Alright, let's start off with the first beat ever exported. So these are going to be kind of out of order, I remember. Actually, we can start at what I know is my first beat I've ever made on a computer. And then we can start at the bottom and go up. The first beat I ever made for some reason is called Jenar is Amazing. You know, the Pokemon. Oh, let's give it a listen. We appear to have a couple seconds of silence. I don't know why that noise is in there. There's a lot of horrible dissonance going on here. Oh yeah. I'll pause it right here. So I didn't have the sounds that I have access to right now back then. I didn't understand the process of sampling yet. So all I would use is the stock sounds that came with the DAW. I didn't know how to import drum kits or stuff like that. And yeah, that led to a lot of very distasteful audio choices. Do I think it's interesting? Yeah. But do I think it's also kind of painful to listen to? Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I definitely think it's interesting. I do remember though, if you think this is bad already, the bass is just atrocious. Here comes the bass drop. Okay, I don't know if anything else interesting happens in this beat. That's just disgusting. And not in a good way. I know some people say that's disgusting in like a good way in production terms. It is not in a good way. There was that little ARP kind of in the background, that little pluck sound, but it was so quiet. It was so horribly mixed. So I had those really basic like desktop speakers back in the day, and that was all I would use. That was what I would mix everything on. I would make all these beats in my parents' bedroom while they were like, I don't know, I think I started doing this in summer, so they were probably at work. And I'd just be upstairs making beats on a very old Toshiba laptop that crashed literally every 5 minutes. That's not even an exaggeration. But yeah, that is Jenar is Amazing. I give that a solid 4 out of 10 because I know there's worse in here. Alright, we're going back down to the bottom. Now, if I remember correctly, all this old stuff was exported all at once. I never exported stuff. It took me like a year to ever start exporting stuff. So even though on here it says it was early 2019, I'm pretty sure that these were actually made back in summer 2018. Like, I never exported stuff. It just sat there. Alright, next up we got Sleepy. I have positive memories of this one. I remember I wanted to learn to skateboard, you know? But I don't have a paved driveway. I just have a little paved strip of concrete that leads from the garage to the porch. So what I would do is I would just take my Bluetooth speaker out there and I would put beats on there that I made. This was a big one. I loved skating, if you want to call it that. Skating to that song. And yeah, I thought it had kind of a summer night vibe to it. This one up here is called Summer Vibes, but this one right here is the real Summer Vibes. This one's just a cheap copy. This one I was really living the life. Let's give it a listen. Okay, something interesting I want to point out before we get to the drums. I'm a huge sucker for 7th chords. Major 7th chords, and this was like a precursor to it. I didn't know any of the music theory back then. But yeah, you take the melody of that, and you put it together with the chord it's on top of, and you get major 7th. I was ahead of the curve, honestly. Not really. I did not invent the major 7th, nor do I take credit for doing so. I'm just gassing myself up a bit because I know some of this stuff is absolute trash. And this one specifically isn't really. It's pretty chill. So that's another thing, is all these old beats, I really liked swing. And I wanted to swing like the kick moving into the primal kick. But I didn't know how to do that. And I actually did not know that lmms even had 3/4 options. So lmms is what I produce in. And I would open the piano roll and I would see, you know, I got this thing right here. I got 1 1, 1 2, 1 4, 1 8, 116, 132, 164. I had no idea. I had never clicked past 164 because I didn't think I needed it. I had no idea that there was 1 3 and 1 6 and 1 12 and 124, which would allow me to do the swinging things that I wanted to do. So when I tried to swing this stuff, it sounded really weird. So instead of a proper swing, it would just be something like this. It just sounds so weird. There's a lot of ambient textures in there, and I know this couldn't have been one of the first beats I made because I actually kind of enjoy it a little bit. but there is like a lot of textures going on in the background. Like there's those crystal shimmering sounds. I remember that's a preset that I found somewhere in the lmms stock library. And like that wind sound, you know. Was it a little excessive? Yes, but I was finding my footing, you know. I think it's kind of cool in an amateurish way. All right here, I've got one of the first sections ever where I like kind of took the beat out and brought it back in. It ain't bad. It ain't bad. There's a lot of clicking, and I remember every time that I see, you know, a popular FL producer try lmms, they always forget to do this thing. And I also used to forget to do this thing because I didn't know how to do it yet. But like, you take a sound, hear all that annoying clicking? All you had to do was go over here, like this, like this. Usually, you'll want to do that, and look. The click at the beginning is just part of the sound. So if I put the attack up a little bit, look at that. No more annoying click. That's all I had to do, but I had no idea how to do that. All right, overall, I mean, I think it's kind of enjoyable. The hi-hats, obviously, are mixed way too loud. I didn't talk about that yet, but they are. They just don't really fit in. I was decent at coming up with ideas, but I was absolutely horrible at, like, fitting the audio together to form a cohesive experience, really. So yeah, I'll give that one 5 out of 10. Next up is Summer Vibes, the cheap copy. There is a lot of crackling going on here. That was not me intentionally trying to replicate vinyl crackles, it's just bad sound quality. Ah! Oh, those hi-hats are nasty. That's actually, it's just eroding my eardrums. It's like just taking a jackhammer to the inside of your skull and just... Also, everything in this beat is just so, like, wet. I had the reverb turned up all the way. Not used tastefully at all, just slathered on there. As much as my computer could handle, which was not much. So I couldn't add multiple layers of reverb. I would have to have just one plugin of reverb and just crank the single plugin all the way. A lot of hissing noise in there, too. I don't know what that's from. But yeah, the end there kind of had a little bit of a redeeming section. You know, it was kind of ethereal. It was vibey. But the hi-hats, man. The other beat, it was tolerable. Like, I didn't really have to point it out. Here, I can't. I lose all my credit if I don't point out the fact that the hi-hats are absolutely atrocious. Just horrible. Man, I remember back in the day, I thought hi-hat rolls were so cool. I'm much more minimalistic now because stuff like this, even only with one hi-hat track, it gets cluttered so easily. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 2 out of 10 for that one because there's really no way I'm listening to it. I'm not kicking back to this. There are no summer vibes. Up next, we have Ukulele. So I wrote this beat on ukulele, and then I like transferred it over. This was one of the first instances where I did something like that, where I wrote a beat basically elsewhere. And I took that idea to the computer and I sat down and I remade it. I have fond memories of this one. You know, I was just sitting on the bed strumming the ukulele and I would go over to the computer and I would type in some notes. Let's give it a listen. Alright, so far it really ain't that bad. It's just really laid back. It's got a kind of cute chord progression to it. I think that's just a 1 to 2, then back to 1 again in a major scale. But you know, it works well. There's a bit of a melody in there. I just sure hope that no hi-hats ruin this beat. Okay, so I went with the shaker on this one. Even though it is still quite loud, I think it fits in a lot better. The pitching is a little cringe in retrospect, but I forgot to talk about the other drums. The kick and the snare, those are still stock drums. Like, we haven't moved on to actual drum kits yet. And I think that's actually decent sound selection for the synths that I had going. It fits in decent. But yeah, the shaker's kind of nice. I don't really have any complaints about that. The beat isn't doing anything crazy. It's really just a template, honestly. I don't think I ever actually wrote a song to this, though, so... Oh, and then it just ends. That's pretty much it. I'd say it's solid. I'll put it at 4 out of 10. Not quite there with Sleepy, but it doesn't hurt as much as Summer Vibes. Now we have casb, which I think was just me hitting buttons on the keyboard to name it. All right, let's give it a listen. Another 2-chord progression. Okay, why? The bass and the snare are not balanced at all. The bass has that click thing going on that I talked about before, and it also has too much pitch to it, too much tonality in that bass drum. Because you don't just hear that kick as a percussive element, there's also a note in there, and that note is not in the key, to my understanding. And I just don't like that. I don't think anybody likes that. Ooh, make better beats, 14-year-old me. Oh, what is that? It gets worse? So now the kick drum is alternating pitches. But again, the pitches aren't in the scale, and it's even louder this time. That was horrible. Even though it wasn't as loud, the hat sound selection was absolutely the bane of my existence. I don't know why I would listen to this beat. I don't know why I thought I could sell it. I thought I could sell beats back then. I wasn't just doing it for the hobby. I thought this was where I was going to make that money. I have since found out that this is not where I'm going to make that money. But yeah, there's so many bad things about this, and there's so little good things. I'd say we got to put this at 1 out of 10. Unlistenable. Alright, this next one is called Lowkey Aggressive. Ever since I've had an internet connection, I've been in tune with the underground rap scene, and I remember this was back in the day when like Bones and Suicide Boys were really big, and all those songs had those big 808s. Now, in their defense, I think they were used a lot more tastefully than I used it here. So yeah, me and all my stock instruments and stock plugins and sounds for a free software looked at what the underground was doing, and I was like, yeah, I can dip my toes in there. And this is what it sounded like. Most basic piano progression ever. That little bass roll right there was just so bad. I'm gonna take up 30 minutes if I complain about every single thing about this that I don't like, but just know I'm not vibing with it right now. Also the most basic Lex Luger clap ever. Okay, so at least it's in key. I gotta say that there's something good to this. There's some counter melodies going on. But man, it is just put together bad. And I think, I'm not exactly sure, but I think I had a drum kit by now. I think I had like the Lex Luger and the Chief Keef drum kits, which have good sounds. I still use those kits sometimes. So it's just like, man, that is disappointing. The bass drum has that crackling thing going on as usual. Okay, so that's interesting. Is it poorly executed? Duh. But is it an interesting idea that could work in theory? Yeah, I think it is, and I don't think I've seen anybody do that. So, 14-year-old me gets some points for that. Oh no. The hats are not doing good. Alright, this better be big. The buildup is wild. Let's go. Oh, it's so loud. That kind of hurts my ears. Cymbals on every measure. Okay, we're going to be done with that one. And I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. Maybe this is more of a 2. I'll give this a 2 out of 10. Yeah, lock it in. Can't go back. Because there are some good orchestral elements here. But it is done badly. The percussion is just not mixed. Nothing is mixed. Nothing ever was mixed back then. But yeah, that's that one. I don't really have too much to say about it. There was some decent patterns in there, some decent ideas. But overall, it just falls flat as far as execution goes. All right, IDMY. This stands for I Don't Miss You, which was a really cringy song that I wrote about my middle school girlfriend. I don't really remember any of the lyrics, which is a shame because I'm sure it just goes so hard. But yeah, you boot up this song, you're expecting something to just tear at the heartstrings, and all you get is... That is literally how the song starts. It just sounds like a bug in your ear. I was a little bit too bare bones back then, which is, you know, kind of knock on wood, but it deserves to be mentioned. But it's an unspoken rule, you know, as musicians, if anything bad happens to you, you have to turn it into a song and try to profit somehow. Try to turn a positive on this. The bug sound continues. Now we get some instrumentation. All the strings are too quiet, they're too far in the background. That percussion is too loud. And I ruined another good thing by adding too many hats. But yeah, that thing right there was kind of cool. The really, how would I say this, rolly bass drums. Like, they just kind of sound like they're very gracefully tripping over themselves. And the gliding bass. This probably has to be the first example of a gliding bass in a song so far. Go me, I was really innovating. But yeah, I don't hate that too much. Sound selection isn't horrible. Like I said, I think the hat that comes in there kind of killing the vibe. Hopefully it doesn't kill the vibe entirely. Really funny cymbal sound effect right there. That bass is clicking. What? That was kind of smooth. Why did I take it out? It's back, kind of. And the hat came in, and it ruined it. But yeah, that was actually kind of shocking. That little bit right there where it was kind of well orchestrated, actually. Like this part right here. For a 14-year-old, this was pretty smooth. I'm really putting myself on a pedestal here, I guess, but I like that. I think it's cool. Pretty basic sound, but I had some panning going on there. I think it contributed a little bit to the vibe. Overall, I'm rocking with it. I'll give this a 4 out of 10. It is not unlistenable. In comparison to what I think I'm going to play next is all caps, Night Lavelle. You don't know who that is, underground rapper, look him up. Part of that big 808 movement that I was talking about. It's pretty one-note stuff, though, and someone like myself who was not experienced with texture yet, one-note beats, or, you know, beats centering on one chord, and just fleshing that chord out, was not the direction I should have been moving in. But I did it anyway, and here is how it sounds. Very ominous. Just hurts. I will say these are clearly stock sounds, so I didn't have a drum kit for this one. And I think that bass is actually just a literal bass guitar, but turned way down and then just cranked. And it just ruins the beat, man, as well as the hats. I guess there's nothing to really ruin. Oh my god, it gets louder. Okay, there you go. That is that. Horrible. Not listening again. Nostalgic and nothing else. We've got bad sound selection, bad mixing, tasteless use of reverb. Reverb is like ranch, you know? Like, I love it, but I'm also not going to put it on everything because I have respect for it now, you know? Like, you know, I'm not going to put ranch on a pizza, and in the same vein, I don't really want to put reverb on, like, an 808. That's the analogy in my mind. Yeah, pretty trash stuff. I've been recording for a while now. I think that's going to wrap it up. If you want to see me go over some more of my old beats, let me know. I will do so. I'll probably wind up doing so anyways. Most of the videos on this channel are just for me, documenting music that I make and how I make it, so that way I can go back in the future and go like, man, I miss the days where I came up with good songs. And then I'm like, oh, here's how I did it. That's the idea. That has been the idea the whole time. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Leave a like. Bye.